When we look at the night sky, we see familiar patterns, pinpoints of light, the comfort of something steady and recognizable, a sense of peace perhaps, a feeling of smallness in the face of its infinite silent beauty. For all of human history, the sky has been our ceiling, a familiar, unchanging map of myth and legends. But what if the silence is not empty at all? What if the stillness is only an illusion? And hidden among the stars, travelers are already on their way. Could it be that drifting between those familiar, friendly stars are visitors on journeys so long they defy imagination? Messengers from places we can only dream of. And if they are arriving, what are they trying to tell us? For as long as we've gazed upward, we've imagined stories about what might be out there. But what if some of those stories weren't just imagination? What if the universe has already reached out, quietly, mysteriously? And the question isn't if we've been visited, but how many times, and by what? Tonight, we're going to drift into one of the most profound mysteries of our time, a story that lives between science and speculation, between the mundane and the miraculous. It's a story of interstellar visitors, objects from other suns wandering into our sky. Will you fall asleep? Maybe, maybe not. What matters is that for the next little while, you can let go of whatever's been racing through your head today. The deadlines, the worries, the voices in your head replaying the same old thoughts. All of that can rest now. Instead, we're going to explore one of the most important questions there is. Are we truly alone? And if not, then what does it mean when something from the outside finally appears in our skies? So, get comfortable, take a deep breath, let it out. Now, let's step into the quiet space between wakefulness and sleep and journey into the story of our cosmos. A story where the greatest shift in our understanding is not a theory in a book, but a reality unfolding right now, just beyond our window. A story that proves our solar system is not an island, but a shore. And if that's the case, then the greatest discovery isn't what these visitors are. It's that we are no longer alone. For thousands of years, the sky has been predictable. For as long as we have been human, we have lived by the rhythms of the sky. The sun rises and sets, The moon waxes and wanes. The planets wander along predictable paths, the celestial clockwork turning with perfect, reassuring precision. It does feel like clockwork, like home. It is a dance we know by heart. But then, one night in 2017, something arrived that should not have been there. The music changed. A new dancer entered the floor. It was moving too fast, far too fast to be bound by our sun. In an observatory perched on a dormant volcano in Hawaii, a telescope named Pan-STARRS was doing its nightly job, scanning the darkness for asteroids, the chunks of rock that drift through our solar system. Astronomer Robert Warwick at the University of Hawaii's Institute for Astronomy wasn't searching for cosmic revelations. He was performing routine checks for near-Earth asteroids, watching the screens in the quiet of night. It was routine work, digital eyes sweeping the black, looking for faint points of light moving against the fixed background of the stars. And then it found one, a ghost in the machine. Robert Warwick noticed something strange, a faint object streaking across the data, its speed too great, its path too free. This object was not moving like the others. It wasn't looping around our sun in a gentle, familiar ellipse. It was on a trajectory that could only mean one thing. It wasn't from here. What he found was the first confirmed interstellar object ever seen by humans. It had come from interstellar space, from the vast dark ocean between the stars. It was falling through our solar system, and it was already on its way out. For the first time in the history of our species, we had confirmed, without a doubt, that we had a visitor from another star. The stakes of our existence shifted in that quiet moment. We were no longer just looking out at the universe. The universe was, it seemed, coming to visit us. The team that found this interstellar object gave it a name from the native Hawaiian language, a name that was both poetic and precise. Oumuamua. It means a messenger from afar arriving first. The name itself was an omen, the first messenger. And it was a messenger that brought with it a profound and unsettling paradox. Astronomers around the world scrambled to point their telescopes at this fleeting guest before it vanished back into the void. And the more they looked, the stranger it became. It was dark as coal, reflecting very little sunlight. And it was reddish, the color of rock that has been bombarded by cosmic rays for millions, perhaps billions of years. Its brightness flickered, as though it were tumbling end over end, like a shard of glass reflecting sunlight. It tumbled through space in a chaotic way, its brightness changing dramatically every few hours. This told scientists that it had a bizarre shape. It wasn't a sphere like a planet, or a rough potato like an asteroid. It was extreme. Some said it was long and thin like a cosmic cigar, perhaps 10 times longer than it was wide. Others believed it was flat like a pancake, but all agreed its shape was unexpected. But that was not the strangest part. The strangest part was its movement. As Oumuamua passed the sun and began its journey back into the darkness, it sped up. It accelerated, as if something was gently pushing it from behind. Yet there was no comet tail, no jets of gas, no engine we could see. This happens with comets. As comets get close to the sun, that comet's ice heats up and turns into jets of gas and dust, which shoot out into space. This creates a beautiful glowing tail, a comma, and acts like a tiny rocket engine, giving the comet a push. But Oumuamua had no tail, no comma, no dust, no gas. It seemed to have an engine, but it had no visible exhaust. It was as if something invisible was steering it. It felt like a ghost ship, accelerating silently through our solar system, propelled by a force we could not see. It presented a paradox that science could not easily solve. It was either a natural object of a kind we had never ever imagined, or it was something else entirely. And then, just as suddenly as it arrived, it was gone, slipping back into the depths of space, leaving behind only questions. The first messenger had arrived, spoken a single baffling word, and then vanished into the darkness, leaving us with a question that would echo in the halls of science for years to come. The silence of the cosmos had been broken, but the message was unreadable. Of course, science does not like an unsolved mystery, and for 2 years, the mystery of Oumuamua lingered. Theories were debated, papers were published, but the question remained: was it a bizarre natural fluke, or something more? Just when the debate was reaching a fever pitch, another surprise. In August of 2019, it happened again. Another visitor was detected. Just as the first messenger left us bewildered, a second arrived, like an echo, a reminder that the cosmos was still speaking. But this one was different. This one was familiar. Its name was 2I Borisov, and it was exactly what astronomers had been expecting for decades. For years, the prevailing theory was that if an object from another star system were to visit us, it would most likely be a comet, knocked loose from the distant icy edge of its home star's influence. And Borisov was, without a doubt, a comet. And the story of its discovery was just as grounded and wonderful. It wasn't found by a giant automated telescope, but by an amateur astronomer in Crimea named Gennady Borisov. He was a passionate stargazer who built his own telescopes in his garage, driven by a pure love for the night sky. One night, he peered through a telescope he had built with his own hands and spotted a fuzzy object that wasn't on any of the charts. It was a faint traveler, glowing with a clear cometary tail. He had discovered the second interstellar visitor in human history. Unlike Oumuamua, Borisov behaved exactly as theory predicted. It was large, and it shone with the bright, fuzzy glow of a classic comet. As it neared the sun, it grew a long, magnificent tail of dust and gas. It was icy. It shed dust and gas in a bright comet. It behaved just as our theories predicted. It was a perfect, well-behaved guest. When professional astronomers analyzed the light from Borisov, they found something remarkable. Its chemical makeup was almost identical to the comets from our own solar system. It was a comforting thought. It suggested that the building blocks of worlds, the ingredients for planets and perhaps life, might be beautifully consistent from one star system to the next. The arrival of Borisov brought a collective sigh of relief to the scientific community. Yes, this was what they expected. An interstellar comet, just like the textbooks suggested. The mystery seemed to be settling down. Borisov was the rule. Oumuamua, the strange, silent messenger, must have been the exception. The universe made sense again. And yet, the familiarity of the second visitor only made the ghost of the first one more profound. Borisov's normality sharpened the edges of Oumuamua's strangeness. One was normal, the other was impossible, and the tie still needed breaking. So, let us return to that central mystery, the push, that silent acceleration. Think of it like this. You see a sailboat moving across a perfectly still lake. There is no wind. There are no ripples. Yet the boat is moving. you would rightly assume it has a motor. Comets have a motor. They're jets of gas. Oumuamua was a sailboat moving on a glass lake, and its motor was silent, invisible. Scientists struggled to explain the unexplained acceleration. So, needing an answer, they proposed some truly extraordinary ideas. One theory, a leading contender, was that Oumuamua was a nitrogen iceberg, a shard chipped off a frozen world like Pluto in a distant system, venting invisible nitrogen gas. The idea was that as it neared our sun, the nitrogen would turn to gas, creating the push. But because nitrogen gas is transparent, we wouldn't have seen it. A clever solution, a natural, yet deeply alien kind of object. But there was another hypothesis, a more direct, and for many, a more disturbing one. It came from Avi Loeb, a respected astronomer from Harvard University. Avi Loeb took a risk. He looked at the data and proposed something that pushed the boundaries of scientific conversation. He proposed something radical, that Oumuamua was not natural at all. He proposed that it could be a piece of alien technology, specifically a solar sail, a thin, light sheet, perhaps less than a millimeter thick, designed to be pushed by the pressure of starlight itself. It would be a perfect silent engine. It would accelerate without any exhaust. It would explain the data perfectly. Loeb faced intense criticism from many of his colleagues, but he stood by his reasoning. He argued that it was his duty as a scientist to follow the evidence, and the evidence pointed to something truly anomalous. To dismiss the possibility of an artificial origin simply because it was uncomfortable, he said, would be to fail at the very purpose of science, to explore all possibilities. To ignore the chance of an artificial origin would be an abdication of science itself. Not everyone agreed. Some dismissed it outright. Yet Loeb continued, steady as the stars themselves, following the evidence wherever it might lead. The media gave him a name, the alien-hunting Harvard professor. And so, the most unsettling possibility remained on the table. What if our first confirmed contact with something from another star was not a radio signal carefully beamed across the cosmos for us to find? What if it was a piece of physical evidence, a relic piece of cosmic driftwood, a message in a bottle that washed up on our shore, only for us to see it just as it was being pulled back out to sea, unopened. For a moment, humanity had glimpsed the possibility that the stars had sent us something, and we weren't ready to catch it. The debate quieted, but the mystery remained. For years, the debate stood at a perfect stalemate. One ghost, one familiar stranger, a perfect tie. The universe had presented us with a single data point for familiar and a single data point for unfamiliar. Then, just as the balance seemed set, the sky shifted once more. On July 1st, 2025, astronomers announced a third confirmed interstellar object detected by the Atlas survey. Its designation, 3I Atlas. At first, it seemed familiar. Another comet, another icy wanderer. But then, the data unsettled the picture. The arrival of a third visitor does change everything. Now, it's the beginning of a pattern. It proves that visitors from other star systems are a regular, if rare, feature of our cosmic neighborhood. We are not observers of a past mystery, but participants in an unfolding, ongoing event. Amazingly, astronomers almost missed it at the end of the observing season. Its speed revealed its true nature. It was not from here. And soon, strangeness emerged. It appeared to release gases and possibly even metals, and its trajectory hinted at something unusual. Some said it looked as if it made a course correction. And Avi Loeb was back asking questions again. This time, more people seemed to be listening. After all, rocks don't steer themselves. So, what nudged it? Recently, observers noticed something else even stranger. 3I Atlas began to glow a vivid green. The color comes from diatomic carbon, molecules released as the cometary body heats up, which shine emerald when struck by sunlight. To some, it is just chemistry, but to others, the sudden wash of green light feels symbolic, as if this messenger is deliberately choosing a new signal, a lantern in the night. In ancient traditions, green was the color of life, of omens, of thresholds crossed. Could this be another clue? Not just of what 3I Atlas is made of, but of what stories it may yet carry. As the world's most powerful telescopes turned their attention to this third messenger, they began to uncover details that would make even the mystery of Oumuamua seem simple by comparison. The James Webb Space Telescope, humanity's most sensitive eye on the cosmos, revealed something extraordinary. This visitor was venting carbon dioxide into space. Not just a little, but 8 times more CO2 than water vapor. This chemical signature is almost unheard of in natural comets. Most comets are made primarily of water ice, the frozen remnant of their birth in the cold outer reaches of a star system. But 3I Atlas seemed to be built from something else entirely. CO2-rich material, not just coating its surface, but embedded deep within its core. Even more puzzling, ultraviolet instruments detected water vapor streaming from the object when it was still far from our sun, so far that it should have been frozen solid, dormant, silent. Yet somehow it was already active, already shedding material into the void. It was breaking the rules we thought we understood. And then came the most unsettling discovery of all. Despite losing mass as it vented these gases into space, 3I Atlas showed no measurable drift from its path. When a comet sheds material, it creates a tiny rocket effect that nudges it off course. It's basic physics, action and reaction. But over 4,000 separate observations revealed something impossible. This massive object was holding its trajectory with perfect precision. For that to happen, the calculations showed it would need to be unimaginably heavy. The numbers were staggering. 33 billion tons. Dozens of times more massive than any interstellar visitor we had ever encountered. It was not just large, it was colossal beyond comprehension. And its composition told another strange story. Spectroscopic analysis revealed it was rich in nickel but poor in iron, a metallic fingerprint more typical of engineered alloys than natural space rock. This kind of precise composition you might find in a foundry, not in the chaotic birth of the solar system. Perhaps most unnerving of all was its arrival angle. 3I Atlas had entered our solar system aligned almost perfectly with the plane where our planets orbit, an orientation so precise, so unlikely, that random chance would produce it only once in 500 attempts. Piece by piece, a portrait emerged that defied easy explanation, a colossal traveler that refused to be pushed off course by forces that should move it, that shed unusual gases in impossible ways, that was made of materials more at home in human industry than cosmic nature, and that seemed to have arrived not by chance, but with surgical precision. The question that no one in the scientific community yet had the courage to ask aloud was becoming impossible to ignore. Were we looking at an exotic natural phenomenon that shattered our understanding of how the universe works? Or were we witnessing something else entirely? Something that had been carefully designed, deliberately sent, and precisely aimed at our small corner of the galaxy. This new messenger is the tiebreaker. Right now, the world's telescopes are turning toward this new traveler from the stars, and they are all asking the same crucial question. Will it end up familiar like Borisov, confirming that nature is beautifully consistent across the galaxy? Or will it remain strange like Oumuamua, reopening the door to the profound and unsettling possibilities that the first messenger brought with it? Could it be a relic, a probe, or even a ship? Skeptics remind us that extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence. And so, scientists made a checklist. What would prove something artificial? Sustained acceleration, unnatural light curve glints, tight, repeated maneuvers, radio emissions, and close-up images. And for the first time in history, they began discussing intercept missions, the idea of chasing down an interstellar visitor. Whether natural or not, 3-Eye Atlas has already changed us. It brushed against our world, whispering, "Notice me." Maybe it's just a rock. Maybe a relic. Maybe something far more. But either way, it's a message. The answer is coming. Are we ready? In the end, the true revelation is not what these objects are, but that they are, that they exist at all. We live in a universe that is not still. It is moving, dynamic, alive. This is a universe that sometimes sends us messengers. The paradox of their nature is not a problem to be solved with anxiety, but a wonder to be embraced. For the first time, the mystery of the cosmos is not something you're reading about in books. It is a live event. Long ago, ancient myths saw falling stars as divine signs. Today, science tells us they are travelers from other suns. Different language, same awe. And awe transforms us. Right now, all over our world, people are looking up. Scientists and stargazers, professionals and amateurs, all united by a single shared question. This anticipation, this communal wonder connects us. It reminds us that for all our differences, we share the same home and the same sky. The stakes have shifted. The question is no longer a fearful whisper in the dark, "Are we alone?" It is now a hopeful, curious gaze into the light. What is the nature of our cosmic neighborhood? This knowledge brings the grand, abstract scale of the universe down to a personal, intimate level. Interstellar visitors are reminders. Whether they are rocks or relics or something else, they prove that star systems are not isolated islands. They are connected by invisible rivers, and these objects are the vessels that travel them. The universe is not empty. It is in motion. This thought has the power to calm our deepest cosmic loneliness, because the universe is a place of exchange, of connection. We are, in a very real, physical way, connected to stars we cannot see. Dust from our sun will one day reach them, and messengers from their shores will, from time to time, arrive at ours. When you look up now, the stars are no longer a backdrop. They are part of a story that flows, and we are inside it. The payoff for this journey is a new lens through which to see the night sky. It is no longer static, but dynamic, a living space, an ocean of possibilities, where messengers from unknown origins are actively arriving. We are living in the opening chapter of a grand unfolding story, and all we have to do is keep watching. So, tonight, let your mind rest in this thought. The cosmos is not silent. It speaks in the language of travelers, in the whispers of comets and shards and ships passing in the night. The sky is no longer a map of what is, but a sea of what could be. And we are finally awake on the shore, watching for the next bottle to arrive with its silent message. We look up at the same stars our ancestors did, but we now know they are not the edge of our home. They are simply the lights of the neighbors we have not yet met. Each visitor reminds us the sky is not a ceiling, but a doorway, and we are not alone, not in the greater universe, and not down here on Earth. And no matter what comes next, we will face the story together. Well, if your eyes are still open, I hope your thoughts feel a little farther away from the noise. Thank you for listening. If tonight's story helped you slow down, I hope you subscribe. There's always another mystery to explore, and I love to share it with you. No matter what, I wish you peace and good thoughts. Good night, dreamers.